Welcome students. In today's class, we are going to discuss the exercise and question answers of chapter Animal Kingdom. The very first question given is, what are the difficulties that you would face in classification of animals if common fundamental features are not taken into account? Students, more than 1.5 million of species are known till now, and this is not the end of the list. Many more species will be discovered in future. A large number of organisms are yet to be discovered. Scientists are involved in this task. Any systemic study on a given animal can be made easier only when the organism is identified as a particular group, member of a particular group. Unless the animals are divided into various groups based on differences and similarity between them, it becomes like impossible to study them. If we will not take care of common fundamental feature, it would be a very hard job to classify the organism. There must be some common features. These may be similarity as well as differences which help the scientist to keep the organism in a particular group. So, without taking care of common features, it would be like impossible to categorize organism. The second question is, if you are given a specimen, what are the steps that you would follow to classify it? As we know that classification has been made starting from the very basic characteristic to the advanced characteristic. So, when any specimen is observed, it is first observed on the basis of cell, whether the organism is having single cell, that it is unicellular or multicellular. Then we consider the type of cell present, prokaryotic or eukaryotic, level of organization, then body plan of organism, then body symmetry of organism, number of germinal layers, then the segmentation, whether head can be differentiated or not, and likewise body cavity or coelom is present or not. So these are some steps that are followed while observing a specimen, starting from the cell, its number, its types, towards different characteristics like body organization level, germinal layer, etc. Third question is, how useful is the study of the nature of body cavity and coelom in the classification of animals? Actually, the study of body cavity and coelom is very important feature. It is very important because the further divisions has been made on the basis of this characteristic only. The coelom or body cavity, as you know, is a fluid filled cavity formed within the organisms inside the mesoderm. The animals without coelom are termed as acoelomate. It includes phylum Platyhelminthes. In some organism, the coelom is derived, but it is a little different from actual or true coelom present in higher organism. So such coelom which is present but it has different embryonic origin is called pseudocoelomate. Example is phylum Aschelminthes. In other higher organisms, a true coelom is formed within the mesoderm, and such animals are called coelomate, like Annelida onwards. So, the study of the nature of body cavity is very important in the classification of animals, and on the basis of this feature, animals has been grouped in three: acoelomate, pseudocoelomate and eucoelomate. The fourth question says, distinguish between intracellular and extracellular digestion. Intracellular digestion is a characteristic of unicellular organism. It is a type of digestion which takes place entirely inside the cell. Since it generally takes place in unicellular organism, unicellular are having a single cell only. So all the processes are taking place inside the cell. It means the complete process of digestion takes place inside the cell itself. The enzymes responsible for digestion in case of intracellular digestion are produced by cytoplasmic organelles. The extracellular digestion, on the other hand, is a characteristic feature of multicellular organism. It occurs outside the cell. In this case, the alimentary canal or gut is the place where digestion takes place. Not the cells of alimentary canal, but the alimentary canal itself. So the process of digestion takes place outside the cell, and enzymes responsible for this are secreted by different digestive glands. So the digestion takes place in specific organs. Afterwards, the digested food is being absorbed by the cell. So the process takes place outside the cell in case of extracellular digestion, whereas the digestion process takes place inside the cell in case of intracellular digestion. Intracellular digestion is a characteristic of unicellular organism. Extracellular digestion is a characteristic of multicellular organism. Enzymes are secreted by cytoplasmic organelles in case of intracellular digestion, and enzymes are secreted by different digestive glands in case of extracellular digestion. The next question is, what is the difference between direct and indirect development? We have discussed it several times, students. Direct development means the development of an organism into its adult form without passing through a larval stage. Whereas in indirect development, organism pass through a larval stage which is morphologically different from the adult. It means the organism having a stage in their life which are morphologically different from the adult, and they undergo metamorphosis and change themselves to become an adult. Whereas in case of direct development, the young ones resemble their parents or their adult form, and they don't have any phase in their life which is morphologically different from the adult one. Higher organisms generally show direct development like cat, human beings, dog. Indirect development is comparatively seen in lower organisms like frog, some insects, mosquito, etc. The sixth question is, what are the peculiar features that you find in parasitic platyhelminthes? Platyhelminthes, as you know, are acoelomate organisms which are having flat ribbon-like body. Parasitic platyhelminthes have some special features which help them to lead their parasitic life. These include absence of locomotory organs, because they do not need the locomotory organs, so these do not have locomotory organs. These have some organs which are used to catch the or to get attached with the host. So these have suckers, spines, hooks like structure through which these get attached with the host body. It is also a characteristic feature of parasites of platyhelminthes. Then these have enzyme resistant cuticle, because these are generally endoparasite and are present inside the gut of the organism, and they come in contact with various enzymes. To resist those enzymes, these have special enzyme resistant cuticle, and also these have complex life history with many larval stages, because various forms go through various hosts. So these have complex life cycle with many larval stages. So these are characteristic features of parasitic platyhelminthes. The next question is, what are the reasons that you can think of for the arthropods to constitute the largest group of the animal kingdom? As we know that arthropods are the largest phylum of animal kingdom, there must be some characteristic, and these characteristics are like their adaptation which help them to inhabit any environment. Next characteristic may be presence of exoskeleton which help them to live in various type of climate and protect them. Other characteristic is presence of jointed appendages which allow them to move in search of food and to move away in case of adverse condition, and it allows them to have a greater chance of survival. Also, arthropods have wings made from cuticle, and it can help them to fly, which also help them to survive. They can move away from the condition very fastly. The next characteristic may be tracheal respiration. Tracheal respiration means air is directly supplied to the cells and tissue, and it helps them to maintain high rate of metabolism. Also, arthropods have highly developed sensory organs. They have compound eyes and they have receptor for smell, touch. They have antenna with the help of which they can take sensation from the surrounding and can be alert when any dangerous situation is there. These have metamorphosis. Adults eat differently than the larval form, and that's why the competition for food is less, because the food of larva is different from the food of adult. So there is reduced competition for food, and that these are the characteristics which help the arthropods to inhabit the largest area of the earth. The next question is, water vascular system is the characteristic of which group of the following? Obviously, the answer will be C. Echinodermates possess a unique water vascular system. The next question is, all vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates. Justify the statement. As phylum Chordata. Phylum Chordata is named after the presence of notochord. It means all the chordates are having notochord. All the vertebrates are having notochord, and that's why all the vertebrates are chordates. But all the chordates do not have vertebral column. But vertebrata group contains the organism having vertebral column. It means all the vertebrates are chordates because they are having notochord, but all the chordates are not having vertebral column. That's why they are not all vertebrates. So this is a justification of the statement that all the vertebrates are chordates, but all the chordates are not vertebrates. Next question is, how important is the presence of air bladder in fishes? Air bladder is a large sac-like structure which is found in bony fishes generally, and it helps the fish to float. It also acts as a sound producer and a respiratory organ. It is present above the alimentary canal and below the vertebral column. It means in between the alimentary canal and vertebral column. Air bladder allows the fish to move up and down through the water, and also it produces sound by vibrating. It amplifies the waterborne sounds and thus it helps in hearing. So the air bladder present in fishes help them in movement as well as in hearing. The cartilaginous fish do not have air bladder present in them, and that's why they always need to move their flips, that is their fins. The 11th question says, what are the modifications that are observed in bird that help them fly? So the adaptation, the modifications for flight in bird are the very first, streamlined body. Then the second, that the forelimbs are modified into wings. Next is the body is covered with the feathers, and these also help in flight adaptation. These have specially strong flight muscles. Body is light due to presence of pneumatic bones, means bones are hollow from inside and contains air. The sternum, which is also known as breastbone, is well developed in birds, and flight muscles are attached over here. Internal organs are reduced. Air sacs are present in the body. The brain is highly developed, which help it to correlate with the eyes, which help them in their vision, which is quite useful while flying. Also, these have some special characteristic to overcome sudden change in air pressure. The forelimbs, which are modified as wings, is very special characteristic found which helps in the adaptation for flight. So these are some characteristics which help the organism, the birds, to fly. Next question is, could the number of eggs or young ones produced by an oviparous and viviparous mother be equal? Why? Students, the number of eggs produced by oviparous organisms are always more as compared to young ones produced by viviparous mothers. It is you can say a mechanism of nature of population control, because all eggs may not be hatched, and there may not be suitable environmental condition available for all the eggs. So only few eggs are hatched and few organisms come out from the eggs. If the number of eggs will be less, there will be less chance of survival of organism. That's why egg-laying organisms generally produce a large number of eggs, so that after wastage of many eggs, at least a few can grow. Viviparous animals produce limited number of eggs, and that's why they show high parental care and they protect their eggs. If the young ones produced by viviparous will be left as eggs produced by oviparous mothers, there again will be no survival of organism. That's why oviparous organism produce a large number of eggs and viviparous mother produce less number of young ones. The next question is, segmentation in the body is first observed in which of the following? So, in the following row, we can see segmentation is found in Arthropoda as well as in Annelida, and Annelida is placed earlier to Arthropoda. So, the right answer will be Annelida. Segmentation is found in Annelida very first. The next question is, match the following, and here you have to match the correct options. So, let's start. The operculum. Operculum is found in which of the following? Operculum is found in bony fishes, that is Osteichthyes. So, operculum will be matched with the 8th one. The B is Parapodia. Parapodia is the characteristic which is found in Annelida. Obviously, in not all the annelids, but in some members of this group. C is scales, and scales is found in fishes as well as in reptiles. So here the answer will be reptilia. Scales is found in reptilia. The D is comb plates. Comb plates are the characteristic of Ctenophora. So D will be matched with the 1, Ctenophora. The next one is E, radula, and it is found in mollusca. The F is hairs, and hairs are obviously the characteristic of mammalia. G is conocytes, which are found in porifera, and H is gill slits, which are obviously present in cyclostomata as well as chondrichthyes. So these are the matching. In the fifth question, you have to prepare a list of some animals that are found parasitic on human beings. So the list is endless, very large number of organisms are there. You can choose some of them like blood fluke, tapeworm, roundworm, hookworm, filarial worm, pinworm, bedbug. These are the organisms which are parasitic on human beings, and lot more are there. So you can write yourself other names also. So these are the discussions of questions of chapter Animal Kingdom.